Hey, thank you, Carson, and good evening, everyone. It's always a good evening when I get to spend time with our parents and caregivers of New York City public school students. And tonight we're going to go over co-regulation, the sensory tool that you take with you. So we're going to do a little overview of what co-regulation is, some tips for successful co-regulation. We're going to get to hear parents' experience with co-regulation and understand how co-regulation promotes self-regulation. So co-regulation is the process through which two people adapt to one another and can manage emotions and arousal states. It refers to the way parents or caregivers can help a child calm down, feel safe, and learn to regulate their emotions over time. Co regulation operates at both a biological and behavioral level, and it plays a crucial role in the development of self regulation. So, when our children feel out of sorts and they're very upset, and you really feel that innate need to kind of jump in and help them. That is that biological level really kicking in for co-regulation. So through warm and responsive interactions, caregivers help children work through challenges they experience daily. Co-regulation is supportive, it's dynamic, and most importantly, it's interactive. This is something that you're working with your child through. It's something you do together. It is not something you tell your child to do and then you kind of sit off to the side. These are practices that you do together. As our children struggle sometimes with their sensory regulation, whether it be difficulty with transitions, loud sounds, crowded rooms, or changes in routines, we engage in co regulation so that way they develop strategies so they can get through those difficult situations they're better able to self regulate. So, co regulation happens in our schools. This is a practice that happens every day. Teachers and related service providers utilize co regulation daily to coach students how to identify emotions and identify strategies to calm and regulate themselves. These co regulation practices help students engage in school activities. And this is completed through explicit demonstration of strategies. Teachers and students really engage in these strategies through everyday activities and lessons. It happens through verbal coaching. Um, every day, teachers and related service providers are pushing our students to reach their full potential, to reach their full intellect. And, that is really tough for kids. Our students are faced with challenges every day. We want our kids to succeed and to experience vigor. And that's not an easy experience. School is challenging and that can be very frustrating. So every day, as we challenge our students, we're encouraging them. We're telling them that, these are things that they can do. We're encouraging them to, you know, not only remain calm, but we're teaching them tools to stay calm. It could be whole class practices of mindfulness and calming activities, whether that be deep breathing activities, um, whole class yoga activities, or movement breaks throughout the day, as well as reflections with students. It's important to check in with students, see how they're feeling, having them label emotions to the feelings that they're having, asking them how certain activities made them feel, certain lessons made them feel, have them check in with a buddy as well. All these different strategies that teachers and related service providers do throughout the day are all parts of co regulation. And these are all different strategies that not only happen at school, but can happen at home as well. So, why is co regulation important? So, here we have this visual where it says, when there's a storm and you see this boat that seems like it's not even going to stay upright, right? It's barely making it. And sometimes we feel this way with our own kids, right? They kind of come in the whirlwind, and they really have a hard time finding staying steady and keeping themselves together. And when they're really in it like this, it's so important that we stay very calm. So when their storm meets our calm is when co-regulation occurs. And then the two of us, right, us and our kids and our caregivers, can try to keep them steady, right? Because it fosters emotional development. When parents and caregivers are consistently able to respond with empathy and understanding and calmness, they provide a framework for children to understand and express and manage their feelings. Right? We always want to validate their feelings because no emotion is ever wrong. There's always a time to feel angry sometimes, to feel sad, to feel happy, to feel nervous. And we want to provide that safe space for them for those feelings. It strengthens the bond with caregivers. Through moments of co regulation, trust is built, and children learn that with their parents and caregivers, there is a safe space. And it also creates the foundation for self regulation. Over time, as children experience co regulation with their caregivers, they begin to internalize these processes and then they develop the ability to self regulate. So, before we're able to do all these practices of co regulation, um, which not is not always easy at times because especially if you have children with sensory difficulties, it can be very challenging and it can also be very stressful. So I just want all of the parents and caregivers out there to give yourselves some grace and for you all to know that you're doing an amazing job and you're doing just fine. And, you know, not any one strategy works all the time. And you have to do a little bit of a self check in and see, how are you feeling? You need to pay attention to your own feelings and reactions during stressful interactions. Pay attention to your own thoughts and beliefs about the behaviors of others. It's never easy when your child's having a difficult or challenging time or a meltdown, especially when that's happening in public. I think, we've all been there. And, sometimes we have to take a moment to do a little self regulation for ourselves before we can move on and help our children. So, what can we do to prepare? First, we have to stay calm, right? We need to be in a self regulated state. We have to take some deep breaths, momentary pauses, and we have to do some self awareness. We can help remain calm even when our child is distressed. Secondly, we need to be present. Co regulation requires full presence. We need to make eye contact. We have to use a soft voice and offer physical touch if that is something that your child is comfortable with. If that's something your child is not comfortable with, then that's not something you're going to offer to your child. You also want to validate emotions. Every emotion is valid. Instead of saying, there's no reason to cry, you may want to say, I can see you're upset. Can you tell me what's bothering you? You also want to be predictable. Children find comfort in routines and predictability. If a child is already in a heightened state, you want to remind them of what comes next or use familiar soothing techniques. You also want to limit stimulation. If it's already a chaotic environment, you may want to try to move to an area that might be quieter or where they may feel more at ease. And also, you want to practice and be patient. Like any skill, co regulation takes practice, both for the parent and the child. And you want to celebrate those little victories. Um, co-regulation is one of those things that you don't need to get it right 100% of the time, 90% of the time, 80% of the time. Any investment in co-regulation is really a benefit for our children. It is not, you know, wasted if you try to co-regulate with your child and it wasn't, super successful and they didn't calm down, completely, and they were just able to calm down a little bit. This is really an investment in building up their capacity for self-regulation. So I don't want you to ever feel that like, oh, I was trying to get my child to be really calm and we weren't very successful. We're not going to keep doing this. It's really just building their capacity to eventually be able to self-regulate on their own. So many of us who've been doing this for years and have trained, in this skill, and our kids have their own set of sensory difficulties, we're not successful 100% of the time. So I don't want you to feel that, you know, I've had these strategies that were working this week and it didn't work next week. I'm doing something wrong. You're doing just fine. And again, it just takes practice and patience sometimes. So, some tips for positive co regulation: self regulation for a caregiver during a stressful interaction with a child is not an easy task. Caregivers may need support, practice, and coaching from friends, family, or professionals to build their own coping and calm down skills. And like I was just mentioning, that is very true. We all cannot be, you know, able to do everything all the time. Sometimes we need to lean on others, ask for some additional support, some additional help, seek out some additional strategies. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. And also to expand caregivers' coping skills will in turn promote these skills for children. And some of you may be wondering, well, how long do you need to co-regulate for, right? And co-regulation really develops over time. It's from infancy through young adulthood, right? When your children are very young, they're crying, you need to hold them, you need to rock them to try to calm them down. And as children get older, their ability to need that co-regulation usually decreases and they're able to self-regulate. But depending on what the situation is, if they're in a very, very stressful situation, they may need little periods of co-regulation. I'm sure some of you may have been in a stressful situation where you may have said, like, I'm so angry, I can't even think straight. And you've had a friend say, like, calm down, maybe take a few deep breaths. And that's someone else helping you to co-regulate in that moment. So again, sometimes it's an ongoing relationship, an ongoing practice between two people that just helps you manage your emotions, you know, um, in that situation. And it takes sometimes that coaching between two people. And it's really about learning different strategies to help just calm and regulate those emotions. So, how do we prepare for co regulation? There are some activities that are you can do for your child depending um, on their sensory needs. And it may be different for, it may not may be different, it will be different for all different children, right? And that really is you knowing your child's best and what activities will help calm them and what help activities will help alert them, right? So if you know that you may need your child to be calmer in a certain situation, you want to think about what activities help calm my child. And if you may need your child to be more alert in a different situation, you want to think about what activities are potentially alerting for your child. And you want to start thinking about these activities prior to you going out and being in that situation, right? You want to prepare yourself, especially if you have a child with sensory needs. Preparation is always best, not when you're already, at the situation or on your way there. Think about some activities that may be calming for your child. And if you haven't thought about that before, take some time, to think about it over the next few days about really, what is your child engage in that is really calming for them? Is it taking deep breaths? Is it listening to music? Is it when they have a snack, and what kind of snacks may be calming for them? Is it maybe they like yogurt, and when they have yogurt and they're sucking it through a straw, does that then produce a calming effect for them? Is it when they really need just a change of environment? Going to a quieter place really seems to do the trick for them. Things that are alerting. Jumping really seem to make your child feel really alert. Is it when they're spinning or when they're touching their toes? Sometimes, really having your children change the position of their head anytime their head gets inverted. That is a really alerting sensory movement for a lot of children. Or is it having a cold drink? Or a crunchy snack? Is that an alerting activity for your child? So just knowing sometimes these different sensory activities that can either be calming or alerting for children is some nice different sensory tips for parents to have.
Bellissimo.
And then co-regulating in the community, right? Anytime we need to go out into the community or we're going out and we have to run a lot of errands, the holidays are coming up. So this can be a very stressful time in general, right? And if you have kids that have sensory needs, I think it just adds on a whole other layer of stress because you have to get through the, holidays, and then you have to also manage the sensory needs of your children as you're getting through all of this. So again, I think preparation is really important as you try to manage these things. So, one of the things we like to do, or it's important to have, is having a to go bag that has some necessary things that your child may need as you kind of go out in the community or go out in your travels. Um, and some things that may be helpful is noise canceling headphones. Um, a lot of times, especially when you live in New York City or the surrounding areas, we have a lot of people here and it's very noisy. It's noisy all the time. And for kids with sensory needs, you know, that noise is amplified for them. So, noise canceling headphones can be a real help um, when it just becomes a little too much for them. Maybe having some favorite fidgets around, creating a social story. This is something that we use in the schools all the time. Social stories are very powerful because tells them what's coming next, especially if they're going to have a long train ride, a bus ride, if they're going somewhere they've never been before. Social stories are simple, short stories that tells them what to expect. They have pictures and it tells them, for example, if I'm going on a long train ride to visit a family member I've never met, it would say, Crystal's going to go on a long train ride to go visit Aunt Gail. And there'll be a picture of me on a train. Maybe there'll be a timer and I'll see how long. And then there might be even a picture of my Aunt Gail that I haven't seen before. And these stories help prepare them and provides a nice visual map of what's going to happen. And for our kids, again, these are powerful tools for them. So they're not all these surprises. And they now know how to react to these things because they've already seen it before. Visuals, visual schedules, if they're going to new stores, if there's going to be a lot of people, um, even steps of what's going to happen in the day, that's very helpful. Um, you don't always have to, print out some pictures. If you don't have, let's say, a printer, sometimes just looking up these pictures on your phone if you want to show that to your kids and say, this is where we're going, that can be very helpful as well. Using timers, the concepts of time is very abstract. It's very difficult for our kids to, grasp that. Um, I'm sure a lot of times if you say like, how we need 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they keep asking you and you keep saying the same 5, 10 minutes. Um, because time is very abstract. So it's very helpful when you use timers. There's a lot of free apps, even on your phone, that you can get, and you can set a timer. And then that way your child can see exactly what you mean when you say 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And they know what the boundaries are for a set activity. If you need them to be on the bus for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, or if we're going to be in a store for 20 minutes, that store may be very busy and they're already uncomfortable. It gives them set boundaries for how long they need to be somewhere. When they don't have that boundary and they're in an uncomfortable situation, you know for them, it feels like it could be endless. And that anxiety starts to build in them because they're already uncomfortable and they don't want to be there and they want to be out. And that's when you may start to see some behaviors building up, because everything in their body is telling them they want to leave, they want to be out of there. But once, you set something tangible to it, like a timer, they already have a countdown and they know they can leave, when the timer is out. So that can be very helpful. Also, before you go, you want to talk to your child about where they're going and use visuals or a social story for long trips. I'm not only using timers, you might want to set a reward or sensory break to cope with the environment that may be overwhelming. You also want to have an idea of what your child's thresholds or kind of limit is for busy environments. So if you know that after about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, your child usually needs a break, then I would plan that break, whether it's going to, you know, even the bathroom to get a, drink of water at the water fountain or just a quieter um, environment for a few minutes or try to find a quieter space for a few minutes. I would try to give them a little bit of a break so that way you're not met with the behaviors and you're able to then maybe give them something from your to go bag or give them a little snack or just a little break from that busy environment. And then you're able to go back to the rest of your plans for the day. It helps one break up their day and it also helps um, ensure that you're not going to have so many behaviors during the day because they don't always feel so overwhelmed. So now I am pleased to introduce Natasha Scott, and we're going to hear a parent's perspective with co regulation. Natasha is a mother of two autistic twin girls, and she's going to share with all of us her experiences with co regulation.
Good evening, everyone. So, my name is Natasha Scott, and I'm speaking with you today not as a New York City public school supervisor of occupational therapy, but as a parent of four beautiful kids. My youngest are my identical twin daughters, Scarlett and Skylar, who are 7 years old. They were diagnosed with autism at the age of 4. Even with my 20 years of experience, there were many different feelings that came along with having their diagnosis confirmed to me. It was like a roller coaster of how will I deal with not one, but two of my children having autism. Then I went and I said, okay, I got this. Well, I'm still riding that roller coaster every day. Some days are better than others. But fast forward, Scarlett and Skylar currently attends the Fabulous Horizon program at PS 91 in Queens, and they are thriving. We as parents provide co-regulation techniques to our children all the time. You just may not realize it. The daily interaction between my daughters and I help me decide at the moment which techniques and strategies that I want to use with them. The SEED program hosted by the New York City Public Schools has also helped me with understanding their needs. With the research that I have been conducting, utilizing the visuals provided along with their equipment, the program has made a powerful impact on their social skills, their inner motivation, and their ability to express to me their feelings. I use the colors from the Zones of Regulation program to help them express their feelings as they have limited expressive language. I then decide, based upon their feelings and behaviors, how I would like to get them back into the green zone, which is the happy place. Please remember that this takes time and consistency. There are definitely no cookie cutter answers or strategies that I can provide you with this evening. This is an investment that you will make into your child's future. Despite my knowledge and background, I am still learning new strategies and how to choose them for my girls. Another key point that I would like to make is the importance of being regulated as a caretaker. If you are dysregulated, this will definitely carry over negatively when trying to regulate your child. Please take care of your needs as well. Utilizing regulation strategies for my girls is needed. This time is well invested for them to help build their ability to self regulate. Applying these strategies is not a one and done for them. What may work today and tomorrow may not work on Wednesday. But I will vouch that with consistency and carryover by myself and other family members is key in my household. The goal for me when it comes to co-regulation is for them to have that balance of a state of calm, being ready to learn, help with initiating task and language, along with their ability to self-regulate and understand their own feelings. Some signs of dysregulation for my daughters are crying, not following instructions, flapping their hands, rocking back and forth, refusing to speak to me, or putting their head down on the table, or covering their ears. They even speak in a Peppa Pig voice when they are really frustrated with me. I will give you some examples of how I put strategies into place in various environments and situations. But remember that the first step for me is to recognize signs of their dysregulation and figure out what may be their triggers. I use visual schedules with their daily morning routines, after school routines, and night routines for them to use that I am consistent with using and following 95% of the time because we're not perfect. I make copies of the zones of regulation charts and have them in various parts of my house and my cars so that they are handy at any moment to give me a baseline as to how they are feeling. The charts allow them to either point to or verbalize their feelings, and then I can choose which strategies that I need to implement. I speak in a very calming voice, and I try my best not to raise my voice or show frustration or sadness, etc. This will give them a sense of safety and being secure with me. This is very important because they want to come to me and tell me how they are feeling without any reservations. I actively listen to them when they are trying to express their needs, meaning no distractions. I don't have my cell phone on me, no television, and if the TV is on, it is muted. And this helps with validating their feelings, needs, and wants. This also allows me to help with recognize with their nonverbal communication. Since I am present in the moment, I can see their smiles, maybe they may grimace, they may be stimming or staring at an object. And when this happens, I sometimes give sentence starters such as, I feel, I want, can I? And this will help them to initiate the conversation with me as much as they can. I incorporate calming strategies such as gentle touch, using soothing words, deep breathing techniques, and I provide them with a quiet and non distracting space, especially when completing their homework. They use different modalities such as a trampoline, body socks, weighted stuffed animals, sensory bottles, and fidgets that they also make themselves, feelings, games, videos on YouTube, alphabet yoga, Go Noodle, Dougie Dance Party, just to name a few, is what they love. I'm a big believer in saying positive affirmations with them to help with their self regulation. I have purchased canvas paintings with sayings such as, I am smart, I am unique, I can do anything. And they also have made their own. I hang them up in the bathroom and in their rooms, and we say them every day, morning and night, and they can now recite them independently. These were just a few examples of what makes the most impact on my daughter's lives. My 12-year-old son also has similar strategies, but I changed them up to his needs as over time they have changed. I still apply strategies to my 21-year-old son to help him self regulate as he works and goes to school and he's getting his independence. It is never too late to start serving as a co regulator to your child and working on that nurturing relationship with your child. I hope my personal experiences and strategies and a little glimpse into my twins' life that I shared today has helped you this evening. We all have our unique journey, but we are all in this together. I would like to thank Suzanne and Crystal and the entire team for having me this evening. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for sharing your experience with all of us. So, as we mentioned, co regulation leads to self regulation. And to have successful co regulation, we need to provide a warm and responsive relationship, which I know all of you do with your children. We do this by displaying care and affection. We recognize and respond to cues that indicate needs and wants. We provide caring support and times of stress. And we build strong relationships through words and actions by showing interest in the child's world and respect for them no matter what. We want to structure the environment, make self regulation manageable, provide a buffer against environmental stressors by creating an environment that is physically and emotionally safe for them, and create consistent and predictable routines and expectations. This will promote a sense of security by providing clear goals for behavior and defined consequences as well. Lastly, we want to teach and coach self regulation skills. We want to model self regulation skills. We want to give instruction, provide opportunities for practice, give prompts for skill performance, and we want to reinforce each step towards successful use of skills. Investment in co regulation helps children build strong foundations for self regulation skills. Students who possess strong self regulation skills can manage their emotions and adapt to a variety of challenges by coping with anxiety and frustration. They are more likely to succeed academically and achieve long term goals as they get older. I know this is something at New York City Public Schools that we want for all of our students. And as a parent, I know that is something that we want for our children. And building self regulation starts with co regulation. As Natasha mentioned, we have the SEED program. SEED stands for Sensory Exploration, Education, and Discovery. It is a unique enrichment based sensory movement program, which supports students who display intensive sensory needs that significantly impact their school functioning and participation. Seed eligible students must have current IEP individual education plan recommending occupational therapy services. And if you are interested in enrolling your student in the SEED program, please email seedprogramors at schools.nyc.gov. That is the email you see here on your screen. We have just started our first cycle and we will be offering another cycle in the spring. I am thrilled that New York City is able to offer this enrichment program for students with sensory needs for the fourth year now. So, again, if you're interested in enrolling your student in the SEED program, please email this email address you see here on your screen. And this concludes our program at co-regulation. I hope you've enjoyed the information we have presented. We've enjoyed speaking with you this evening. Thank you very much.